Hannah Talbot is a spiritual advisor, mentor, and close friend of mine. In these next 2 episodes, we'll be tapping into her knowledge to help us get a better understanding of how our chakras work, some of the energies that are associated with each chakra, and how to up and down regulate certain areas of our body to help bring these areas into balance. Love Hannah's knowledge and really appreciate her taking the time, especially 2 parts, to sit with us and talk. Hope you get something out of the conversation. We'll see you on the other side. But first, a message from our sponsor. Anam Cara is a gorgeous meditation and healing center, offering daily in-person and virtual services to help bring you back to the center of who you truly are. They serve through a collective of practitioners, healers, and teachers, offering daily meditation classes, one-on-one healing sessions, workshops, personal ceremonies, and private events, plus corporate and team training, all with mindfulness at the core. The center itself is located in the heart of downtown Spokane. Every part of it was built, designed, and curated for you to drop into your calm place. They have a large community space for daily meditation classes and workshops, as well as 2 one-on-one healing rooms, a community kitchen to gather for tea, plus a well-stocked apothecary for you to gather all of your self-care and ritual needs. Hannah Talbot, the owner and founder of Anam Cara, dreamed of opening this space for years. It is her ultimate manifestation, and she cannot wait to share it with those in the Spokane community, but also through the virtual ethers, wherever you may be. Pop in for a class today. You can follow them on Instagram to book and stay up to date. Check out the website, the full schedule, meet the practitioners, and view all the offerings. Visit them at anamcarahealing.center. Anam Cara, may you be nourished and ignited. Our healing journey can be difficult and might feel lonely at times. That's why I love sound baths. When we can get together in a community, we intrinsically support and feel supported by others. And that combined energy can help us go deeper into our own healing journeys. And all you have to do is just lay there for 1 hour and listen to beautiful healing sounds. I'm a sound healing practitioner, and I hold sound baths on a regular basis in the greater Seattle area. You can find my next sound baths on my website at adamrealhealing.com. That's Adam, A-D-A-M, Real, R-I-E-H-L, Healing, Healing.com. AdamRealHealing.com. Your healing is worth your time. And now an uninterrupted episode with Hannah Talbot. I am so excited to have one of my dearest friends, a repeat guest on this podcast, and one of my go-tos for any energy questions, any energy work, trainings, just anything that I need in this metaphysical world, this physical world. I know that Hannah Talbot will be there for me, and I love you so much, and I'm so honored to have you back. The third of a multitude of episodes that we'll do together. And the only thing I'm bummed about is that I really wanted to do this in person. And right now we're on Zoom. I'm in Kirkland. She's in Spokane. And I really wanted to come down to you and see your beautiful new center that you just opened up. And I'm so fucking proud of you and happy for you. And I know you've been working on this for such a long time. And I really wish I could see that place in person right now. But I'm happy to see your face, to see those eyes, that beautiful hat you're wearing, and just spend about an hour with you and talk about some chakras.
Oh my gosh. So much to say already just in that introduction. I'm like, I want to comment on everything. This hat, man, this gorgeous hat is from my good friends, Abby and Sierra with I Am Alliance.
I love them so much. They're the best.
Yeah. Custom made this baby. There's Palo Santo in there. There's amethyst and this like special stitching. I'm really into it. Wow. So, soul brother, It's so good to be here. You just literally light me up. I just woke up with the biggest smile, just thinking about getting to spend time with you. And I agree. I miss you so much. And I wish we were together in person, but I'm here at the center. So you are energetically here in my space. And so is everybody else who's listening. I know a lot of the people who listen are really close friends of ours. So, hey, and so good to be here. I feel like, I want to tell you all about the center and what's going on and talk about chakras with you today. But, I would love to start off with just like a couple rounds of heart breath. I think that'd be great. It always helps me to just center. Even just talking to you, I'm always a little jazzed and nervous and just, lots of emotions and bubbles come into something like this. So I just feel like it's a great way to ground, and wherever you're at, If you're driving or, you're not able to stop and wherever you're at. But if it feels good, you can let your eyes close, connecting to your breath for a second, just feeling where it's at. Just take your next inhale down into your heart. Maybe even bringing one hand to the center of your chest or both hands, feeling the beat of your heart, noticing the rhythm. And can you turn this rhythm into a soft wave by taking a nice deep inhale right into the center of your heart? And exhale, let it go. Almost visualizing the ebb and flow of a tide in and out. And just feeling our hearts all connecting together. Adam and I on this call, our hearts connecting. And all the love and the energy that we're sending each of you listening, no matter what day, what time, whenever this is finding you. You can just feel our hearts sending you some love, some peace today. Your next breaths in, just allow yourself to call in one thing or many things that you feel grateful for right now. Even just the feeling of gratitude. Just breathe it into your heart. Beautiful. Take one more full deep breath in. Feel all this love. Let it fill you up. So good. Love it, friends. As you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can gently blink them back open, meet the light of the day again. Now we're ready to start. I want to hug you so bad. I want to crawl through this screen.
Well, I was like, you just hugged my soul. So there.
I know it does feel like we are hugging. So
thank you for that. Thank you for that grounding.
So
thank you for that heart opening. That was beautiful.
Yes.
I'm so excited to talk with you about chakras today. There's this is, chakras are pretty, I wouldn't say, I guess pretty well known now. I guess maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, it was something that was still in the fringes, not really that talked about. But now, we're seeing chakras not only in the metaphysical and the energy world, but we're seeing chakras represented in mass marketing, on T-shirts, and all this stuff. That now it's interesting that a lot of people that are quote unquote accepting this understanding still don't really understand what they're talking about. And, I still get a lot of questions about chakras, about the colors, about the sounds, about the mantras associated with them. And you have been one of the most instrumental people in teaching me about chakras. From a physical standpoint, I think from a literary standpoint, from literature side, Anna Judith is probably one of the most amazing people that's influenced me. And again, she was introduced to me through you. The Wheels of Life, the Eastern Mind, Western Body. She's got books like Chakra Yoga. Just so many. I think she's got like 9 books now that she's written about chakras, and has become one of those staples of information to go and check out if you haven't, questions about chakras and how they work with our system. So, you'll probably hear myself, if not you as well, quoting Anna Judith a little bit through this, because a lot of her information is really become the staple for the way chakras are looked at.
Got my little book here with 900 tabs. Yeah.
Every time. Yep. Yeah. The other book I like to use, and it's a newer one for me, is The Subtle Body by Cindy Dale. And yep, exactly.
This one?
I have a different one. I have the Practitioner's Manual.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think it's just I think you have the
that
more
one as well.
In-depth one, and this one's more for, okay, so if you want to work with this on a client, here's some roadmaps for it.
Yep.
And so for the chakras, just to give a basic understanding, and this is from Anna Judith, and this is paraphrasing from her. And the way she looks at it, and we're going to talk about the 7 chakra system. There are chakra systems out there that are 12 chakras. There are more of the chakras, but these are the 7 chakras that manifest on our physical bodies and within nerve centers in our bodies. we won't get into, at least on this episode, we won't get into the ethereal chakras, which are the ones that kind of surround our body and our aura. These are more those 7 physical ones. And this is from the Hindu lineage as well. So there's Chinese medicine that has 9 physical chakras. There's, different ways to look at this. So we're just going to talk about the Hindu orientation from this chakra system. And so the way Anadea Judith talks about it is she says that she looks at the chakras as a cosmic ordering system, kind of like a map onto the body. And so from the nervous system, it helps us to understand where our nervous system might be amplified or deficient, because they do, our chakras do resonate around bundles of nerves that run up and down our spinal column. And they also represent different areas of the sacred elements. So we have earth, water, fire, air, and then we have sound, light, and consciousness as we move up into the more ethereal chakras. They can help us represent and figure out stages of development, stages of human history. And she says it's a profound map for guiding our lives. So once we kind of understand how and where a lot of this manifests within our body, we can utilize that as to where we can start pinpointing the therapy, the trauma therapy, the talk therapies, like any of these kind of amplifications of deficient chakras or the dampening of excessive chakras. And so, and that's a pretty broad brushstroke, understanding of it. Is there anything you want to add from your experiences on that?
It's so funny because, yes, that's a broad brushstroke. However, even just in that, I was like, whoo, I'm overwhelmed. I personally, when I was first starting to study them and get into this, I was personally really overwhelmed with the amount of knowledge, the vastness, of information within each chakra. And even today, as we were, talking about doing this call, I had that moment of like, what do I know about the chakras? Oh no, and it's like, okay, because I'll always consider myself a student, and I'm definitely still learning and learn something every day, whether through, as a practitioner or teaching about them or experiencing it myself or reading, always learning. So yeah, I kind of like to just break it down in a really simple way and just really think of them as, energy centers in the body, or sort of everything. They're kind of like these vortexes where like everything draws into that, gets pulled into that, or is energy goes out from that, right? It's like the center. And I kind of, chakra means wheel. So I think of them as moving and turning and, alive. And, I really think of them as governing the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects of our human existence. And so it's sort of how we pick up and perceive and transmute energy, and so it's like how we take it on and also how we put it out. And I also really think of them as very interconnected. So they're all working together, they're really in a flow, and, each one is essentially connected. Some are more connected than others, obviously by, proximity, or we'll talk about some of the other, like emotionally or spiritually, or, there's lots of different ways, or, just the way that the energy lines run, right? And our organs and all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they also, like, often, I work with an intuitive, and often, how she sees the centers is like, you usually have like 1 or 2 that might be kind of like more out of balance or needing more support. And then you have that other 1 or, 2 that are the strongest, right. And you can really like draw on them to support that other one, or, the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it really is this like energetic highway happening in your body. And it's like, how do we direct traffic? How do we keep the flow clear and open and but also protected, right? Like it can't be too open. If there were no traffic lights, if there were no stop signs, like we would have accidents everywhere. So you don't want to have somebody just blown out, just energy centers all open either. So yeah, they really are, really, if you know a lot about chakras, then this is fun to just hear how, other perspectives. If you're just learning about chakras, really letting this be something where you just kind of let yourself be a sponge and absorb, and then just starting to, maybe pick one at a time. I have run several mentorship groups where how we run through, or how we study the chakras is one chakra per month.
Yes.
So that's 4 weeks of like just looking at it, seeing how it shows up for you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, yourself, how it shows up for you in your relationships, and we work with it through journaling, mantras, movement, color, crystals, essential oils. So it's like, and even that, we don't unpack it all.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really not something to just like devour in 1 hour. And you're like, boom, check. I know chakras.
Right.
It's like, this is a new relationship and journey, and your body's every single day changing and needing something different. And so it's like, the work is never complete, right?
Yes.
Of investigating and perceiving and sensing, and there's no finish line. So it's like, pump the brakes, because when I first was introduced to this, it was in an in-depth way, right? Because I had a similar I think exposure that a lot of us have, which is through, kind of like you were talking about, general culture right now, where it's sort of trendy and fun. And you see that picture of the body with the rainbows up and down, and it symbolizes, calm, meditation, peace. And it's like, oh, I want that, or balance. And so, but we see it, and there's, like we're turned on by it, you know what I mean? But when I got introduced to it through yoga training, and it was like, okay, Wheels of Life is the book we're reading, first book. Whew, that's it. A lot. It's very ethereal, like very up there. I think her Eastern body, Western mind is much more digestible and
more practical,
easy to apply and practice.
Agreed.
And so, and then we got like this huge spreadsheet of all the characteristics and qualities and locations and the Sanskrit names and the, mantras and the colors and the seed sound. And it was like, whoa, like this is so much. And how am I ever gonna like remember all this and figure it out? So just taking it in bite-sized pieces is the best way to really like start to learn and play with these. And finding books, podcasts, visual representations that you really connect with, to do that. Like not feeling like you have to read, Eastern body, Western mind, if that doesn't, resonate with you, like not a problem. There's so much out there. So that's kind of my general sort of like 2 cents on what the chakras are and sort of how I feel about working with them.
Yeah. And I think you hit a couple really awesome points there. One is intuition, and so when we're learning about the chakras or energy systems in general, we're really dialing into our intuition and that intuitiveness in our body. And so with that, something to remember is that all of this stuff that we're talking about, whether it's chakras, energy systems, all these things, this is the best interpretation that we can do, right? That doesn't mean it's verbatim. This is the gospel. This is the only way it works, right? A lot of this stuff is, especially so with chakras, and we'll get into this a little bit later, things like the color of the chakra as far as how they represent, that's not necessarily, like red isn't always with root. It's just the way that the frequency of the root chakra, it usually shows up on the ultrasonic frequency as red because it's a lower frequency, whereas violet up on our crown chakra shows up at the higher frequency because of the way that so it doesn't necessarily mean that that color is only associated with that. The same with the frequency itself, right? So let's say the key of B is associated generally with our crown chakra. Well, if I'm a bigger person with like I'm pretty heavy, then I'm a dense person. So that chakra for me is going to be vibrating at a much lower density and vibration than what your crown chakra would be, right? And so there's the tonal side of it and the color side. So a lot of this stuff is how does it feel with your body? So when you
and like you talked about before, culturally too, how does this land for you culturally? Like we are talking about the Hindu system. You touched on the fact that there are, other specific cultures that, have this chakra system. And then there's other cultures that look at the energy body completely differently.
Totally.
And, or they see them as 3 energy centers. It's one way to interpret. And so, there's so much juiciness and, goodness here, but yeah, it's like if the chakras also for you don't land culturally or intuitively, it's like, well, how do you sense energy then? How do you sense, all of, these things that we're talking about? And we can get into kind of each, some characteristics around each chakra, but, it's like, this is just one way.
Definitely. And that's, so take this information in, see how it lands with you, and do with it as you wish. And there's beautiful ways to look at energy systems, and this is just one, like we said, this is one that really lands with us. And it might be a good jumping off point for a lot of people to kind of dip a toe in, understand what energy work is, and then kind of see where it takes them from there. And that's a lot of what when we went through our Reiki trainings, when you trained Monica and I in Reiki, I think one of those beautiful messages that you left us with is this is a modality that can be beautiful and can be worked, and this is also a modality that can be the baseline for what you build off of. And that's the same thing with everything, right? You get that basic understanding and see how it lands with you, and then see how that manifests back within your practice. How does that, like, focusing on a mantra or a chakra every month, that might be the best way for you to understand that, and just really learning how these things and these ideas and concepts work within your body, your constitution, your family, all those things. How does that land with you, instead of just saying, oh, this is my gospel now, this somebody told me this, I'm just going to go with this. Like, good jumping off point, but then just see where it lands, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go through all of our 7 chakras today, and just kind of go from the ground up and start with our base and work our way up and just describe them.
I'm laughing because I'm like, we'll see how we do.
Right, exactly.
Because we've had full 2-hour conversations just about the root chakra, and then left being like, oh my God, there's so much more to talk about. Yep. So we'll do our best. But yeah, I'd love to get into kind of just some general characteristics of how we both interpret each energy center.
Most definitely. So we'll start with our root chakra. So first chakra is our root chakra. Like we said, we have 7. We'll go from the ground up. So the root chakra, the Sanskrit name is the Muladhara. And mula means base, and adhara means support. So it's like your base support, right? So that's our humanness. A lot of our grounding comes from our root chakra. It's right at the pelvic floor. So it starts at that. It's the perineum. Is that what that's called? Right, the perineum. And so the base chakra is right at the perineum, but it also extends down through your legs, through your feet, right? So you're grounding yourself in. Color red is generally associated with the root chakra, and that's a lot of our humanness, like our base human understandings, come from that root chakra. Our safety, our security. As we start to find that safety and security, we can start to build up into the upper chakras. So, it's a really good way to start off and just feel grounded. And that's a lot of what I'm seeing. pardon me, a lot of with clients right now coming in is the lack of grounded. There's so much energy going up in the crown chakra or the third eye. There's so much planning and anxiety and all this stuff that's happening up in the top that a lot of their base chakras are being abandoned. And so drawing that energy back down into their base, into their root, and grounding them has been very, very helpful. And I've seen that a lot in clients recently.
Yeah. And, we talk about that in Reiki training that, you often have people who are coming in, and it's fun to live in, the sixth and seventh chakra and the third eye and the crown and the ethers and up in the spiritual, that feels good up there. But most of us, almost all of our clients that come in, it's like grounding is the very first thing that they need, that we almost do, like no matter what, because you're right. We all are living in a very overstimulated world. Even if you aren't that person who likes to live in the ethereal, right? Like we're living in a very overstimulated world. Our nervous systems are completely fried. We're just on overdrive, right? And all of us have a lot on our plates, even if you're managing just being a human body in this world is a lot for your nervous system. Yeah. And so we all need that grounding. However, right, there's also this kind of other thing that happens a lot of times. People who are coming to us for this work are doing deeper healing, and the root chakra is where we take on a lot of our initial traumas and holding. And the idea of, safety and security, basic needs being met, like food, water, when you cry, you're going to be taken care of. All of these little things kind of stack up in the body, right? And sometimes those basic needs aren't met. And sometimes they are, but then there's all kinds of other things that, go into play. Like we talk about, it's the formation of your root chakra begins in when you are being, why can I not think of the word?
In utero.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I should know this. I have one. I've had a baby.
Yeah.
I should
I've heard
know,
the song from Nirvana, In Utero. I mean, I should know
right?
all these things.
Yeah, but it's like you're actually forming your root chakra before you're even born. And so what's happening for your birth parent while they're growing you has an effect on your root chakra.
Right.
Oftentimes, especially, now, a lot of adults, right? We come from parents that had babies pretty young. That's changed a lot in our current culture. People have babies older, but a lot of us come from parents who had babies real young and doing the best they could, right? But not fully equipped to take care of it, like beyond, the basic food, water, right. Like things that create safety and security in your parent and knowing that they're going to take care of you. And, trauma is, it's a big, broad word, but really it's like trauma and stress, right? Is like anything that happens to the body that your body perceives as unsafe. And so then you take that on and you try to, assimilate and figure out, and then we store and we accept and we start creating behaviors at a very young age to get, that safety and security, right? The acceptance, the love from our caregivers. And a lot of this is happening unconsciously, right? Nobody's taught. It's not like a conversation you're having with your baby or your baby's having with you, or your toddler, right? Because this is being formed up into about like 2-3 years old, the root chakra. And so, many of us hold trauma in the root chakra. Yeah. And then that feeling of safety and security is sort of in a constant threat as adults, right? Like there's a lot to be concerned about in terms of, am I safe?
Right.
Am I monetarily taken care of? Do I have everything I need? You just look at the world around you, gas prices, sending your child to public school where we don't know what's going to happen there. COVID, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even, all the things, right, that are like, are we safe? And so like you talking about people coming in needing a deeper level of grounding makes complete sense, right? Because our root chakra as a culture has for the last several years has been shaken the fuck up. Yeah. And so we have all been like, whoa, what is my foundation? And questioning everything, so people are going through it right now. And the root chakra, right, it's just like a house, right? It's your foundation, it's your base. It's just like a tree, it's the roots. Like if a tree isn't rooted, it's just going to fall right over and it can't grow. Right. If the house doesn't have a solid foundation, the next layer above it or the top layer is going to be the first to go, you know what I mean? And it'll crumble all down below. So it's hard to build solid foundation, or it's hard to build a super balanced chakra system if the root chakra is still undoing traumas that have never been looked at or even unconscious or unseen.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a big one. Yeah. I actually think you could spend forever on the root chakra. Just forever. Well, I think start now.
Yep. Right. I think that goes into the idea that like, once you find balance in a chakra, it doesn't mean like, check, we're done with that one.
Exactly. Because you will relate to it in different ways.
Exactly. Yeah. It'll flux.
And life will come at you and force you to, to see the world in a different way. Or you just, like I call them life trucks. It's like something that's completely out of your control shakes up your entire world. And you thought you were on the most solid, rooted, cemented 2 feet that you could be in, and it's like, boom, you're on your ass again, so, and that will happen because that's just the human experience.
It is. So, and I think that's part of what keeps us conscious of our chakras and of our constitution and of our energy system is that change, that drastic change, that bitch slap in the face out of nowhere. It's like, oh shit. And it's not to kind of knock you off, and it's not to like, theoretically, check to see how you're doing, but that's a good opportunity to be like, well, how strong is my resolve right now? How strong are my systems? My mom right now is going through cancer, and my dad passed away 12 years ago. When my dad passed away, I was definitely not in a place to handle that. I was still drinking a lot. I was not emotionally present. I was a young father, very selfish still. And now that, 12 years later, my mom's in this position to where she's not dying, but she has cancer, it's giving me another opportunity to really look at and assess like how well put together I am to handle this situation. Right. And luckily I've been taking these past 10 years, not to prepare for this, but I've been taking these past 10 years since my dad died to really understand me, my meditation, my metaphysicalness, my spirituality. And now I feel like I'm balanced and ready to be present for my mom in this moment because I've done that work,
And that's the whole point of all of this, right? Is to one, find healing and acceptance for what is, what's been, how you are, how you tick, the way that you are wired. Yeah. And to then also be prepared and have the resiliency to deal with the life truck, to deal with the situation, to deal with relationships, to deal with disappointment, to deal with extreme joy and excitement and come back down to that baseline. Right. That's the whole point, is to be able to have literally this foundation to do that. And we can talk really briefly about like some of like the best ways to ground on your own. Some of my favorite, and I know you will agree with this one, and I think many people hear this and say this, is literally just get outside, get outside. But even better is to like try to get your feet, your roots on the ground to connect to that resonance of the earth, because it does have, it's the strongest resonance in our planet, obviously. And it will change the resonance and the frequency of your body and bring you down to that lower level, like you were talking about, which can ease anxiety, stress, and just put you in a more centered place. Essential oils for the root chakra, are usually more of that like grounding, earthy kind of smells. I like the patchoulis, cedar wood. Those to me are really like settling and like really kind of pull you down.
Yeah.
I like working with stones that are denser, black tourmaline. I love working with black tourmaline for the root chakra. Yeah. That's probably my all-time favorite. I often visualize, like sending my own roots all the way down into the earth, all the way to the center, and seeing a piece of black tourmaline as like the center of the earth's heart. And then like wrapping my cords around that black tourmaline, that heart of the earth. And then pulling that grounding earth energy up, and that clearing of negative stuff too comes in with the black tourmaline. And then, any kind of, just, I feel like movement for your lower base body. Child's pose is a beautiful grounding, putting your whole body on the floor like that, just trying to get as low as you possibly can.
Yeah.
I personally like cat cow because you're moving that area. I mean, the cat cow is so good for so much because you're just undulating your entire spine. So really cat cow for every single chakra.
Damn straight.
But it's those are some of my faves.
Yeah. I've been doing aerial sound baths recently. So we have a studio that has aerial swings. And so hanging in the swings, an hour-long sound bath, you're off the ground. I can get all around you with sound. It's beautiful. But the funny thing with the first one that I did a few months back was, it wasn't the first event they'd had, the first one I did. And once we were done after that hour, literally 3 people like rolled themselves out of the hammock, literally onto the ground and just laid there. And I'm like, oh, we should definitely all ground, like physically.
I was going to say, totally. That's you are way up here. Yeah.
So now after it's great. But after every sound bath, now I got to end a little bit early because I got to give them that grounding time and physically get on the ground. Give them a little chocolate,
give them, get you back in your body.
100%.
Yeah.
So personally, I in my sessions, I love chanting, and that's something that's been called to me over the past few years. And so I do. I love utilizing the seed sounds for our mantras. Yeah. And so I think the last thing for this one, for the first chakra, is our seed sound of LAM, L-A-M. And all of our chakras have some kind of sound. When you get to the top, it's a silent sound, but we all have some kind of sounds that resonate with them. And so LAM, it's that really nice grounding, just pulls us down. Yeah. It's beautiful. Okay, so we're going to keep moving through.
I know. See, we could literally keep going for 100%. A whole day and just talk about the root chakra and the traumas and the ways that it shows up for you physically and mentally and all the things. But I know we got to get to Svadhisthana.
Yes. Well, you might be talking about a 7-part series that we might have coming up then.
There we go.
One on each.
There we go. Let's do it.
Yeah. So our second chakra, Svadhisthana. So it's the dwelling place of the self. Sva is self and prana is the dwelling place. Sva is self or prana, and Adhisthana is dwelling place. And that's a lot of our feelings, our emotions, our creativity, our relationships. A lot of that comes from our sexual energy, right? All within that sacral chakra, that second chakra right below our navel. Color of yellow, orange is associated generally with that. And again, we'll use colors loosely here. And again, like I see a lot of people coming to me with relationship stuff that they really want to work through, whether it's, their sexual relationships, their relationships with themselves, their families, children. Like there's just so much that kind of goes around in this second chakra. How is this something that you utilize? Like what's your opinion on this second chakra?
Ooh. I love this one.
Yeah.
I love this one. It's the juiciness. It's the like fire and heat and passion. It's like kind of what makes being human fun and sexy and hard, and you know what I mean? It's like when you think of like a love story, like all the highs and lows, it's like that's the Svadhisthana, like that's the second chakra. Again, this area, you know, because so this area is formed a couple years into life. So, you know, kind of that toddler age, 2, 3, and I think it goes into like 4 or 5, something like that. Okay. I can't remember exact, and it's not exact. It's not like a day. There's no marker. There's no eject button. Yeah. So again, you know, you think about what we're talking about: creativity, fun, expression, play, sex, relationships. Again, whether traumas that we take on in this area early on and all throughout our life happen, you know, really blatantly, like a sexual trauma or sexual abuse or child abuse. Or it could be just something that, you know, again, your 3-year-old self doesn't understand about a relationship and about the way that your parents engage with each other. You don't understand, right? And so like you take on this whole meaning and make a decision about, you know, what love is and what a relationship is, and same with play, right? Like how free do we feel in play, and was it safe for us to express? Were we, you know, told no a lot, you know, where we put in a, you know, playpen and kind of just had one little box and that was it. You know, what kind of freedom did we have? What sort of, you know, around sex, like, you know, is that safe in your body? Is it safe to be your gender? Do you feel like you're the gender that you are? You know, I mean, you think about how much sexual trauma and repression that we have there for people who just haven't been allowed to even just be how they feel inside, right? Like that's not even allowed. And just, you know, sexual repression, sexual trauma. And then, you know, so what can happen is, you know, lots of different things in this area. We can shut down. So all of those, you know, characteristics that I listed become, you know, dormant or shut down or quieted, or it's not safe to do it. Or it's like the blown out version, right? And it's like that super promiscuous sexual activity that's not empowered or coming from a place of like sovereignty. It's from a deep need or filling or numbing, right? Consuming to try to just feel something. So again, and then you think about culturally, what we are dealing with in that area. So, you know, culturally, we're I think awakening, right, to trying to embody and have balance in our masculine and our feminine. But for thousands of years, that has been so out of balance, and sex was evil and dirty, and periods are evil and dirty, and women even being allowed to feel pleasure wasn't allowed, right? And then the way that men were conditioned to consume it and to, you know, or to, you know, own it, you know, as if it was theirs to take, and not being able to, you know, be themselves in their sexuality either, or be feminine or be emotional. So, and I mean, right, I could go on and on and on, right? Yeah. Like there's so much sexual trauma and repression that is so far back. And then just generationally, what we have just in front of our faces and what we're dealing with in this human body in this lifetime, you know, what we've taken on. So, and then that, you know, yes, those things get formed and shaped early on, right? But then again, that area is continued to be well, like we have other experiences in life. Adolescence is going to have a completely new shaping of the Svadhisthana of the second chakra.
Yeah.
Your sacral chakra. So yeah. And yes. And then in Reiki, that area is the hara, which is connected to the base, to your roots. So it's kind of like an extension of the root chakra.
Right.
And I just think of like a tree, you know what I mean? It's like, they're just connected. So yeah, that one it's beautiful. But it definitely, I think those two areas are very, often need nurturing in all of us.
I agree. That masculine side is, it's very, very strong, and we've been seeing that, so much in our in our political world, in our economic world, this out of balance masculinity. I'm trying not to use the word toxic anymore, but that out of balance masculinity. And I was listening to Charles Eisenstein not too long ago, and he made this point that like we've now realized masculinity is it's a go-to. Like it's easy to be the hard-headed, the strong-fisted, the angry. It's easy to do that because that's what our world revolves around now. It's really it's kind of become an understandable way of being, which kind of sucks. The feminine is hard. It's hard to be soft. It's hard to get your point across and not scream and yell. It's hard to understand the feminine side, And so what we're now seeing is that shift of now, like, okay, we've realized it's easy to go towards that hard masculine side. Let's try something different. Let's do something hard and go towards the softer feminine side, And there's also a indigenous story that happened I think it was in 2022 is when this is, start to happen. Suzanne Silvermoon on a previous podcast talked about this, but she talks about how in the indigenous story, there's been a bird that's been flying around with just its one wing out for centuries and centuries and centuries. And it's doing the best it can with that masculine wing out. But it's been, you can only fly so much with one wing. You're spinning, you're falling, and you're just exactly right. There's no continuity to it.
Yeah.
And this is the first year that feminine wing, that second wing, is finally unfurled, and now we can fly normally. We can fly.
Oh my God, how beautiful!
And it's like so we're embracing that femininity in a mass scale, that understanding of.
And I think women are embracing femininity as well.
Yeah.
And that it's like it's not just men that have to heal the feminine or the masculine. It's women who have to heal their own feminine as well. And they have been, told to show up in the masculine also. And then the feminine, it hasn't been safe for the feminine to come out, to have a voice, to be sexual, to have pleasure. Mm-hmm. And so it's so much undoing for all of us, but this area, like it really is actually, I think, the most fun and juicy to work with, like the ways that you can start to just, bring some nurturing to this, I think is just tapping into your senses. Number one, even just the five senses, like slowing down enough to like taste and like, ooh, this is like, oh, this green smoothie, this is so nice. Look at the color, be sensuous, like have, use all five of your senses to experience the world around you. And, dance is another one, like movement, and so that can be alone in your room. Nobody's got to see you. Bonus points if you do it naked. Like I truly think, I often prescribe to my clients, like some sort of mirror work, some sort of self-pleasure, some sort of, like this, like basically what I'm talking about right now, how can you feel some pleasure for yourself? What would that look like? What would that even feel like to you? Is that safe? Do you even know what that looks like?
Right.
And sometimes we don't, and that's okay. A lot happens. Sometimes it's like, I used to, then I had a baby, then I did this, or I used to, and then this trauma happened, or I never have. That's never been okay for me. It hasn't been okay for my mother or my grandmother, my father. You know what I mean? Like, so just being sensual with yourself, dance, moving, like moving your body, shaking your body, being primal.
Yeah.
I mean, sex is like, I think we should all be prescribed sex as, you know, more often. Masturbation, just touch, just sensual touch. I mean, again, I could talk and talk and talk. Same things, right? Things that you can bring in, oils, crystals, mudras, and there's some for each one. And you can look all of this information up, like literally just Google, like best, you know, crystal for second chakra. Right. And, you know, like there's so much information or, you know, like the book that we love, this one, Eastern Body, Western Mind, each chapter has a breakdown of like, at the very beginning, you know, these are the basic characteristics. This is when it gets formed. This is what it looks like when it's out of balance. This is what it looks like when it's, or like deficient versus, you know, excessive. And then what you can do for those different things. And so, because, you know, if it's excessive, right, like I wouldn't go prescribe, like, go feel pleasure everywhere you can, you know, like we would have a different prescription for that. Yeah, so I love connecting with that book or just looking online or finding, you know, there's chakra Bibles out there, or, you know, just little flip books that have these nice little bite-sized chapters with lots of pictures, or you can get into the, you know, the really beefy, and this is what's great about the book that we love so much, by Anodea Judith, Eastern Body, Western Mind, is that it's the psychology. It brings psychology and the chakra system together. Yeah. And so it like takes what we know about the Western mind and how many of us have, you know, if you studied that, or, you know, it comes up in, you know, basic, you know, psychology. And then she applies it to thousands of years of, you know, Eastern knowledge, right? Which is really neat, because, you know, the Western stuff is brand new, brand spanking new in the, you know, when you take a like step back and look at, well, this stuff has been around for thousands of years, right, and this has only been here for less than 100. So
yeah, exactly. Freudian and Jungian psychology have only been around since like the 20s and 30s, right? It's not that old.
And how often are we constantly contradicting ourselves and what we know to be truths? You know, I think that's part of our problem in the Western world, is we are so focused on, you know, having an answer and then calling it done. You know, making everything black and white. Right. And it's often not. So.
Yeah. The provable truths are really hard for me right now. I had a guy that's on the show it'll be coming out in a couple of weeks, but he's talking about combo and how, you know, we got on the conversation, just quick tangent, about how, you know, you have this medicine like combo, which is a frog venom that's used for purging. And that's been used by indigenous tribes for thousands and thousands of years. And then all of a sudden we hit this, and again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is just a scenario we're looking at, right? Now we have the pandemic, right? This most recent pandemic that hit, and we're generating, we're engineering, we're putting together this serum, this vaccine that is experimental, that's very controversial, that not a lot of people know anything about, that's not vetted. And we're going to put all of our trust and our faith in this thing, and we're going to just completely dismiss this frog medicine that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. We're not even going to even look at it and test it to see if maybe this can help eradicate.
Right, that's what I was going to say. They're not really testing it.
Right, you know, and it's just like, we're just going to ignore what has been working for thousands of years. And granted, like, you know, there's like, let's take cancer. Cancer is a man-made thing, right? Cancer is something that's been, you know, it's something that we've introduced into our diets, and now we generate cancer, right? So cancer is not like naturally growing. This disease, this virus, it came from, well, I guess it depends on who you talk to. It came from a lab or it came from the jungle, right? And if it's something that comes naturally, why aren't we not looking at a natural remedy to help look at it? You know, and again, I'm not trying to open that discussion and like get people all pissed off about that. I don't have really one strong opinion or the other on it. I just think it's interesting. We're not even going to acknowledge the fact that this vetted way of looking at how to cure viruses and disease within the body for thousands of years isn't even going to be looked at. You know.
Well, I always say as a teacher, I come, humbly and caution, anybody, myself and my students, clients and anybody I work with, to question and steer clear of anybody who's telling you this is the one answer. This is the right way. This is it. There's no other,
Mm-hmm.
It's
like when
I'm cautious of those teachers now, but I used to be that seeker. I think who wanted that one answer and that one
well,
pill,
who doesn't? I mean, that's
one teacher, that one,
that's the
and
way we've
that's
been
it.
raised. We've been raised to look for that easy answer and that just like, hey, how do I make this stop now? And that's why I love the quote, when you meet the Buddha on the road, kill the Buddha. Because if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I'm your guru, I'm your Buddha, listen to me, then they don't have their best interest in mind. They're looking out for themselves and they want followers, right? If somebody comes up to you and looks at you as the whole human that you are and then can offer some advice, but then also, take it or leave it, like that's a person that might have some good advice for you. The person that's like, follow me, I've got your answer, run and hide.
Yeah.
Run
maybe not. Totally.
All right. So I think this is going to be a 2-part episode. I'm already calling it.
Okay. We calling it. Okay, good. Yeah, because I haven't even told you about, we didn't even get to talk about Anam Cara yet too.
Exactly.
So we should talk about 1 or 2 more chakras and then we'll chat about that. And I guess part 2 coming next.
There you go. We'll get to the heart and then we'll call it from there. We'll see where we go. Hell yeah. So one last thing with the second chakra, Vam. Yeah. V-A-M is the root sound or the seed sound for that. Vam.
You can literally, when you say that, I mean, personally, I feel it right in the hara, right underneath my belly button. I feel my organs right there, like Vam, like they contract.
Mm-hmm. And one of the ways, just since we're talking about the mantras, and we've given ourselves more time now, one of the ways that I love to work with the mantras in that aspect with myself, with clients is different, but with myself is, let's say I'm feeling a little deficient in my second chakra. So I'll place both hands on my second chakra, whether in meditation, laying down, just sitting, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be a ritual. It can just be like I'm driving in the car, sitting at a stoplight and realize my second chakra is a little jacked up today. So I'll put one or both hands on them, whatever I can. If I can close my eyes, great. And I'll just say the word Vam 3 times. Just Vam. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. It can just be Vam, 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 right? Whatever you need, but you're showing yourself love. You're giving yourself time. You're giving yourself space. A lot of times, like in energetic world, the traumas that we hold within our body are there because we never gave them the opportunity to be expunged, right? And so a lot of times when we just acknowledge the fact that there is this thing going on in my right lung, and I put my hands there and I just show myself some love, a lot of times that'll just go away because all it needed to do was feel noticed and feel loved and feel supported, and now it's done. And it's gonna, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go off somewhere else and just live life, right? And so a lot of that time, like if we feel the deficiency or the excessiveness, we just acknowledge it, put our hands there, take a couple breaths, maybe say the mantra, or just acknowledge the fact that this is where I'm feeling anxious or depressed or some kind of charge. Then there you go. We've done our job right there. And real quick, I was reading, I can't remember which Inadea Judas book, but she has an acronym for the word charge because she likes to use the word charge instead of energy. So like when we have energetic amplification in our body, she likes to call it a charge. And the acronym she uses for that is consciousness having a real, genuine experience.
Right. Yes.
I love that, because it's like that's great. When that energy hits you, it wakes you up and it kind of brings you into this present moment. It's like, oh shit, and that's your consciousness snapping out of that pattern making that your brain loves to do. And it's like, oh shit, no, I'm here. What just happened? Oh my God. Oh, there's a thing. And so I love that charge word, Yeah. Like,
well, and it it's very neutral, right? Like it's a charge. It's not saying that's good or bad.
Right.
And so it's just an experience. And so, what do we need in this experience? Do I need nurturing? Do I need to turn it up? Do I need to, what is it that I need? Like, it's always something different. So I love that because it sort of takes that, there's so much shame, guilt, criticism that we are constantly cycling through our heads and that voice all day long, you know? And so when you start working with these things and we start becoming more aware and becoming the observer, it can often be easy to be really critical and, oh, my second chakra's, you know, this, or, oh, I'm blocked, or, oh, you know, and it's like, no, coming to yourself. Like I think you said this with that nurturing and that loving kind of understanding, like we're just humans and you just need something, and that there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody does. So
yeah, definitely. And the verbiage that we use is super important, you know, whether it's we're using it on ourselves or we're using it towards clients, right? You know, don't, if you're an energy worker or some kind of person that holds space for somebody while they're journeying, don't think that your words don't hold weight to them, whether you hold a degree or not. You know, so if we're walking around and somebody comes in and I'm like, oh, your heart chakra is blocked, that person's, all they're going to hear is the word blocked, right? And that's a negative thing for them. Like, oh shit, there's something wrong with my heart now, right? And so, you know, looking at the way that we utilize our verbiage too and saying, hey, there's what I'm sensing is some area around the heart chakra. We're just going to give it some love today and we're going to put a little bit of focus there. I'm not saying it's overused. I'm not saying it's deficient. I'm just saying this is where we're going to focus today, right? And it's that whole idea of like a person in a white coat saying you have cancer, and all of a sudden, like, you don't have cancer, but you think you do, and now you're dying because of this thought that was put into your head, right? So we as energy workers, we need to be very careful about the verbiage we use about saying this is blocked, this is deficient, this is overused. You know, let's just, you know, kind of just open dialogue about this and just say this is where we're going to put some focus, this is some love today, and then we'll go from there.
I love that.
Yeah. So our third chakra is the Manipura. And that is our solar plexus, and that's the base of a lot of our personal energies, our drive, our fire, our ambition, power, success, a lot of the mentality of like how we hold our constitution. You know, you could say a lot of like that trust your gut kind of idea comes from, you know, a combination between your second and your third chakras, and generally associated, again, loosely with the color yellow. And this is a chakra for me that I love working with this chakra, because I see a lot of, not depression as far as the word of, and the meaning of like the clinical depression, but the depression of our energy. I see a lot of people coming in with depressed energy, and a lot of it, we don't even realize it, but you know, we hold so much of our energy in our body in the way we stand. You know, so if you see somebody that's like, let's say, starting to like kind of collapse in the shoulders, you know, and start to move in, you know, that can be a combination of any of these three chakras, from your solar plexus to your heart to your throat, you know, but those are energy deficiency kind of ideas. Like I remember when I went to Vipassana for the first time, after the second day, when the 10 days of silence finally started to settle in, like, I don't think I took my hands out of my coat pocket and didn't like protract my shoulders back for the full 10 days. Like I was totally closed in and covered in, really guarding my energy, my heart, and my throat, because like I couldn't do anything with it right then, you know? And so like there's, you know, the way we stand, the way we hold ourselves, there's a lot that kind of goes into where this energy center really kind of thrives or gets deficient.
Yeah. I think of this energy center as sort of our inner sun, you know, like you said, willpower, kind of your drive, action. I think it's kind of like the outward expression of ourselves. You know, this is how we do, be, show up in the world. This is how we get things done. But it's also, you know, I think it's a lot of, it's kind of the expression of the ego in a lot of ways, you know, like how we interact with people, how we take things on, you know, having a healthy ego here is going to be a big, you know, factor in how this balances itself, you know, how you are able to take criticism, give criticism. You know, you can, like, the extreme versions of this, or, you know, you can kind of think of that person who's like, you know, just just extreme lack of self-esteem and like not trusting themselves and kind of like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to. Oh, you can have that. Sure. No, it's fine. I wasn't going to eat that. No, you sit there. No, it's fine. No, right. Like just that kind of martyr or that martyr, right? Like they're always the victim, it's always somebody did it to them. And then you can think of the blown out version, the extreme version, the like, super broed out athlete dude who's like, yeah, I bought this car and I've got this boat and I'm doing this and I've got this and I got this job and I got blah, blah, blah. Like we all, I literally have that friend. I'm literally giving you verbatim that person's, that's, hey, how's it going? That's what he says.
Yep.
So it's a very extreme version of like, you have to overdo it to like prove like I'm fine, I'm big, I'm masculine, I'm strong, or or like almost like just that like not overconfidence, but where it's like it's not genuine.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like overwhelming and like it suffocating and takes up all the space in the room. There's no room for anybody else.
Yep. I think a lot of social media is like that. There's a lot of social media is a blown out third chakra. Like, look at how pretty my life is. Look at how great everything is. Look at the cool shit I like to do. I love that
we're just like going through this culturally too. And it's just like every chakra we're like, okay. And then culturally, here's where we're out of whack. And that is so true. Social media is such an expression of, and can just be a really great barometer for how your solar plexus is.
Yeah.
Do you get triggered? Do you get, do you compare? Which we all do, right? And that's part of the algorithm. That's part of how they keep us hooked is It's just biological. It's not you, but, can you find balance in it? Are you able to turn the phone off? Do you realize that it's a curated, fabrication of not fabrication, but it's a curated version of all of our lives,
right.
Whether it's the good, the bad, whatever, all of it, cause I feel like almost even the like, how much can I possibly share? How raw can I be? Let me show you everything. Let me show you, like me sick, me happy, me that like, we get it. Me too. And, we were just having a conversation about this, and anybody who uses social media for work and tries to do it consciously, this is a conversation constantly.
Yep.
Am I in balance? Is this, a true representation? Is this ego? Is this pure? Is this my visual altar here? Or is this just a place to consume and sell, and I mean that in energetically too, not just the actual dollars. So for sure, in this area, I just love that, Adam, that because social media is like, it's like, we're all, just like and that's what's beautiful about this. When I teach this class, I always say this, you start going through all the chakras and everybody, and, you go through the characteristics of the imbalances and the blown out, and everybody's like, damn, I am messed up. Yeah. I knew it. That's it. That's me. Yep. Second chakra. That's it. Yep. And then like, by the time we're done, it's like, oh, so every single one of my chakras is a mess. So I'm just a hot mess. And it's like, well, a little bit. Yeah, we all are, because whether you're experiencing it now, you have experienced it at some time, or you will experience it. But what a great barometer social media is to kind of just talk about the solar plexus, and that healthiness there. And, this energy does really just, it penetrates out, whereas, like the root chakra is more down and a little bit up. And then Svadhisthana, the sacral chakra is up. And this one is out. And so again, I kind of think of it as like the expression of ourselves to the world, how we want the world to see us, how we show up. the rising sign of the chakra system, if you will, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got the fire element to it. So there is that burningness, that desire to just like to grow and to create, but also create to destroy, you know, sometimes we destroy to create. You know, I love, actually, I don't know if we've talked about this yet, but I love how the chakras are surrounded by kind of counter signs to keep them within themselves, right? So you have your root chakra is the earth, and then the second chakra is water. And so water kind of quells earth and keeps earth kind of in check. And then that third chakra is water. Well, water can't go down because there's, fire. Fire can't go down because water's there. And then above that is air. So it can't really go up too far because air is going to push it back down. So it's like everything's balanced in its own way as you start to work up and work down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so, yes, it's so interesting. I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Well, with the sound for our third chakra is Ram, R-A-M. And again, so Ram, I love that one as it, because for me, the way I remember that is like a ram. Like there's so much energy behind a ram. Like you're ramming something down, or like a ram as an animal. Like the rams, like I always think about like National Geographic's watching the rams on the side of the mountain, like hitting each other in the heads and shit. You know, there's so much energy within the ram, right? And so that's the easy way for me to remember that one.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one too, you know, I think this one is like, you know, it's practices with the ego on either end, right? Like, you know, doing things that make you a little scared, or like, you know, being conscious of like, you know, I show up with a lot of ego. And so my practice is to actually like let other people talk, or, you know, not tell people about what I'm doing until I'm asked, or like just, and that's just like a practice. That doesn't mean you can't do that. And we do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's normal. Doesn't mean, but like just being aware of it would allow you to like catch yourself. How often am I interjecting or diverting the conversation to myself?
Yep.
And that's not then to judge yourself. That's just like, oh, look at that. I must need some nurturing because I would like to be seen.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be seen, and we all want to be seen. Not all of us, but most of us in some way want to be seen and recognized and be an individual, you know? How can you shine the spotlight on yourself in a healthy way? You know, what does that look like for you? So it could be posting a selfie on social media, you know, because you never do that, you know, so there's lots of ways you can work with this and sort of slowly building that fire. So many good things. Yeah.
Like utilizing that to step into your authenticity, you know, like there's the blown out, like we talked about, like everything is a post. And then there's the people that are so intimidated to even like something on Facebook, you know, but they still go on there and they'll scroll. Right. You know, and there's both sides of that spectrum, you know, and so it's not always, you know, like, look at me. It's like, hey, I'm here too, you know, and it's learning how to utilize that and finding your space and your energy with that. Yeah. Exactly. You deserve to be here. We're all humans in this realm together. You know, we're learning the curriculum, show up, let's be here together.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and I could talk about this one. I'm like, oh, and body confidence and body, but we can't. And actually, I don't think I can talk about the heart today because my parking's about to expire and I'm downtown Spokane now. So I got to be on that meter. I love it. Oh, this was so fun. Adam, I could literally talk for days about each one of these.
I know.
I love you so much, Adam.
I love you too. I'm so happy and proud of you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I can't wait to see your face in person, hopefully soon.
I know. Sending so much love.
I love you so much, girl. Have a great day. Thank you so much for spending time with Hannah and I. I'll leave a bunch of information in the show notes on how to get in touch with Hannah and myself. Please make sure to check out the Anam Cara Center, whether online or if you're in Spokane in person. It's a beautiful space. Hannah is doing amazing things with her meditation and her offerings to the world. Thank you so much. Obeisance and love to y'all. We'll see you next time.